Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me and happy Monday. For those of you who haven't been here before, Mondays is where I kind of take a break from my normal makeup content and I tell ghost stories that my subscribers send in to me themselves, and they send them right here to this email address. This email address is in the description box and it's on the screen. A lot of people message me asking how they can send me their stories. I say it. right here. I really appreciate all your stories. Just so you know, some people think I've skipped over theirs, but more than likely I haven't got to it yet. We are like a few years behind because you have sent so many stories in, which I greatly appreciate. Audio stories and video stories kind of jump the queue because they fill in some gaps for me. So yeah, you can send your stories however you want. Audio, you can record your voice, you can record a video of yourself, or you can just send them like a normal email. And this series is very much inspired by Bailey Sarian's murder mystery and Makeup Mondays. I'm sure you all already know who she is, but I'll leave a link to her channel in the description box below. She definitely inspires a lot of makeup and Something Monday videos, which I think is an incredible concept. I've seen a few people do stuff like this now, and I really like it because, you know what, I like makeup, I like horror, I like true crime, I like all this other stuff, so it's a perfect blend for me. It's a nice combination. Okay, so just before we get into today's video, I know I've talked a lot for 4 minutes and 53 seconds. But I just want to say something about the stories and the TikToks and all the kind of stuff in these videos. I read them and I watch them as if they were all true, as if they were all real. Why? Because I like ghost stories. I like being scared. I like imagining like what if. So there's absolutely no need to, in the comments below, being like, that's so fake. I can't believe people believe this. You're fucking stupid if you believe this. No, it's just a story. It's not that deep. Get a grip. Like, it's just a ghost story. Whether you believe it or not. I mean, there's some things you see online which I don't believe at all, but I love the story. That's all it is. It is not this deep. It's like this, it's like shallow, not even, you know? So don't like get yourself hung up on the fact that people are enjoying a story. It's really not worth the stress for you. Okay, so what I wanted to do today is it's that time of year where it's August, so I'm like, okay, in my mind summer's done, autumn is coming, Halloween is on its way, and my kind of like transition from summer into Halloween, I'm just going to call the whole season Halloween. Some of you may be familiar with Jade the Libra, that's her YouTube channel, and she basically goes around and like shows all the Halloween decorations in all the shops and stuff. And we don't have that much of a wide choice here in the UK, so it's great to watch her. All we have is HomeSense and TK Maxx and some other places that aren't as good. It's all just the same stuff. And it gets me really like, oh, I start shopping for Halloween. So I've been watching that recently. So I want to do like a Halloween look today. So I want to do like a green, orange and black Halloween kind of situation. So I'm going to be using the split liners today. I bought these, I bought these myself, just so you know. And there's some greens in there that I want to use. And then I was sent, this was gifted to me from Be Perfect Cosmetics, the Shapeshifter palette. So we have these kind of like orangey tones, and I was like, oh, what an amazing, like, perfect Halloween combination. And then there is, I hate that plastic. Then there's like a contour palette as well, so I'll go ahead and use that. So here's how I dyed this week, right? Last year I had my Halloween decorations up like now, and my partner was really angry with me about it because I put too many up. It was too much, and I ended up taking some down because it was overkill. I think I was just so over the summer that I was like, let's get this done. So my theme is I put up all these Halloween decorations. Do I keep doing ones where things fall on me? And it fell. And I was trapped under all these Halloween decorations for months. Months and weeks, and no one found me. And that's just life sometimes. Okay. I'm having a few technical difficulties today, so I'm going to have to get up and walk over there. Yeah, let's get on with our first story. Today's story is called Creepy Stories from School. Oh. It says, hi Robert, my name is Steph and I love listening to you read ghost stories. Thank you. And I really enjoy all your videos. Thank you so much. It's a highlight of my Tuesday, Australian time zone. All right. For some background information, I work in primary schools as a before and after school care and vacation care program for school-age children. Last year, I went to the school I was working at on a Sunday morning to prepare paperwork for the upcoming new school term on Monday. I walked through the school's empty halls as I had to turn off all the alarms. The school had been undergoing renovations, however, there were no workmen there on the weekends. The school was all locked up, it was quiet, and I was alone. I got to my office and started working when I heard loud footsteps on the roof directly above me. I thought maybe the workmen were here today and looked outside the window to see if any vans were in the parking lot. There weren't any other cars there but mine. I ignored the loud noises on the roof and just told myself it was a tin roof adjusting to the sun or the heat. After about 10 minutes, the loud noises on the roof stopped, and I started to hear squeaking noises from the wooden floors of the hallway behind my office. I looked through my office window, and there was no one in the hall. My heart started pumping, and I thought maybe there's someone in the school. So I closed my office door. If it had a lock, I would have locked myself in my office. I was so frightened and panicked. I sat down on the office floor, so if anyone looked through the window, they would not be able to see me in my office. I sent a text to my boyfriend, telling him I was leaving the school, and to call me if I wasn't home in 30 minutes. As I was typing the text message to him, the door to my office that I had just closed popped open, and I pretty much had a heart attack. I was frozen, sitting on the floor. My heart was pumping so hard, all I could hear was my heartbeat. I was shaking. I just waited on the floor, looking up through the window door for something to happen to me. Nothing happened. There was no noise. It was dead quiet. I decided to get out as soon as possible. I picked up my stuff and ran out of my office. Ran down the halls, quickly alarmed the school on my way out and ran to my car. When I got to my car, I looked through the windows and saw I had left the light on in my office. No way in hell was I going back to turn it off. Absolutely not. Listen, I say last week, but I always forget I miss a week. I was saying places like schools and places that are so usually like full of life and busy, when they're quiet and when no one is there, it's the eeriest thing, strangest experience ever, because you're so used to it being so crowded and noisy. And suddenly when none of that is like happening, it's like, oh, this doesn't feel right. Have I ever said this before? When I was younger, of course I was younger, I was in school. When I was in like little school, like primary school, our school was like a really old Victorian, like so Victorian that even the toilets still had like, you know, it went up to I'll put on the screen to describe what I mean. That's like what the toilets are still like, and I just painted over it. I'm assuming in the 80s with some horrible colour. Everyone used to describe, when they went to the boys' toilet, a black blob that they would see out the corner of their eye, and it was always like everyone would always talk about it, and it was one of the eeriest toilets ever out of all the toilets I've been in. That was the scariest one. Okay, we have an audio story up next. So like I mentioned before, the audio stories help me kind of like finish up my makeup, but because these videos take so long to edit, when I don't have to read, because when I read, I'm dyslexic, so when I read, trying to edit me reading is... So your audio stories really do help, and I love hearing your experiences from you as well, as some of you mentioned in the comments. So here's our first audio.
Hi Robert, I just wanted to start by saying that I love your channel, and I love the channel that you and James share, and thank you for keeping me smiling and laughing, especially throughout this pandemic. I really appreciate it. Now, I do have a ghost story to share, and this one I actually haven't really shared with anybody but my closest friend and, of course, my parents who were there with me at the time. When I was around 8 or 9 years old, my parents took me to go see the mansions in Newport, Rhode Island. The Newport mansions are known for being built in the Newport Gilded Age during the 19th century and were used as summer homes for America's elite families like the Vanderbilts. Being a child, I remember wandering around most of the mansion tours with a really carefree attitude, not particularly ready to appreciate their art or architecture yet. But there was one house that I'll never forget. As we wandered through the halls, I suddenly became overwhelmed by grief and sadness that I couldn't explain. Before I knew it, I began to just sob uncontrollably. The tour guide stopped and politely asked me if there was something that he could help with, but I knew that there was nothing that could be done, and I couldn't help but just stand there, paralyzed by the sudden onslaught of emotions, and cry. My parents took me aside and sat me on a grand stairway in the foyer to try to calm me down. They asked over and over why I was crying, and through my sobs, I would tell them that I had no idea. The feeling of devastation crashed onto me like a wave and wouldn't stop. Needless to say, we left the tour early, and I remember feeling better almost immediately after walking out the door. When we got home, my parents turned to me with these matching haunted expressions on their faces. They told me that as they tried to comfort me on the stairs, they felt an icy chill surround them, in spite of it being overwhelmingly hot. It was a summer day, and the house had no air conditioning or fans running. They felt icy hands on their shoulders and sensed that they weren't the only ones in that moment trying to comfort me. I remember feeling that same chill run through my own body at the time, but it was secondary to the overwhelming sorrow that I felt. I kick myself now for not remembering which mansion this was in because I'd love to return to see if I have any similar feelings. I'd be fascinated to know if anyone else had similar experiences at any of the Newport mansions as well, because they have quite a long history. After this experience, I never again felt afraid of ghosts or spirits. Feeling that sadness made me realize that they aren't something to fear, but instead, they're something that inspire you to take pause and think about what they must have gone through to make them stay in the homes and objects they found to be the most important to them in life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sending that to me. Very well taught. What's the word? Why did my mind just go blank? Very well done, spoken. Very well read. Here's the deal, right? It's so funny because when you mention, that it made you kind of realize maybe, it isn't, ghosts aren't something to be scared of, spirits aren't really something to be scared of. It really shows how people deal with their situations. Because, me personally, that would terrify me for life. And I'll be like, I remember that time a ghost made me cry, Talking about old buildings, me and my fiance went to Jersey, which is like an island you have to get a plane over. And we were visiting a friend, but during the day, I think she was working, we went to this old building. I can't remember what it was. And it was absolutely fine. And it was one of those like old houses where you walk in and they've set it up where this is where the lady of the house would have done her getting ready. And they have like a not a mannequin, the ones without a head, like a clothes mannequin with a dress on, and they have a bed all set up and everything's set up, but you can't go in the room. They have like the rope around the doorway so you can step in and just look around. And it was all absolutely fine. I love buildings like that. I love going to places like that. And there was this one floor we got to, and it was just us two. And we were on this floor, but it felt completely different to every other level of that building. It was so dark and so eerie. Like, it was the strangest feeling. It was awful. We were just like to each other. We didn't say anything. We weren't scaring each other. It was absolutely fine. And we just said to each other, can we please, both of us were like, we need to leave this floor. We need to get off this floor. I hate it. We hate it here. Let's go. And we just kind of like got out as soon as we could. But it was, the rest of the building, absolutely fine. It was that one floor that had this feeling of, it was like an angry, don't be here kind of thing. It was a really, really strange feeling. We were like, we just have to get out of here as soon as we can. Thank you again for that audio. And listen, I know some people aren't very keen to send in audio, but if you write it down and read it, it's so much more, you'll feel a lot more confident reading it. Okay, so we have our next story, and this is called Ghost Family in a Canadian Forest. Hi Robert, I hope you're doing really well amid all the craziness in the world right now. I am, thank you. I hope you are too. I hope everyone else is. I absolutely love your videos, and especially your Ghosts and Makeup Mondays. Thank you. And I wanted to write to you to share my story. This happened nearly 20 years ago when I was about 7 or 8 years old. I used to go camping with my aunt and uncle for 2 weeks every summer in Algonquin Park, which is a large provincial park in northern Ontario, Canada. We would often go on long canoe trips that took us deep into the park, and sometimes we wouldn't see another canoe all day. On one such trip, we were paddling up a small river that led into a larger lake. There was a very small peninsula, more like a big rock, really, that jut out into the lake from the surrounding forest. We decided to paddle closer to the peninsula, as it looked like a fun place to go swimming. And as we did so, we were surprised to see that there was a family camping there. There was a father and 2 girls close to my age, and they had a tent pitched and a campfire. We could see them from about 100 meters or so away as we paddled closer, and the little girls waved to us. We reached the small peninsula, and a family said hello to us. They were very friendly, and the little girls and I jumped off a rock into the lake several times, and my aunt and uncle chatted to their father. Now, I can't remember their names, or even if we'd asked for them. And my aunt and uncle can't either. We'd been there for around an hour. Then we decided to start heading back, as we had quite a long paddle and a car ride back to our campsite. We said goodbye to the family and headed off into our canoe. When we had paddled a very short distance from the peninsula, maybe about 100 meters, I decided to turn around and wave goodbye to the family. However, when I did so, I was shocked to see that the family had completely vanished. No girls, no father, no tent, no fire, nothing. The peninsula looked as though no one had ever been there. My aunt and uncle turned around as well, and they were stunned, as they had been talking for some time with a father. My entire family believes very firmly in ghosts and spirits. So in our minds, there was no doubt that we had encountered something that was not of this world. My aunt and I love ghost stories and the paranormal, so we often speak about this incident. To this day, we don't know who or what we saw, only that all three of us experienced the same thing. I hope you enjoyed my story, and thank you so much for reading it. Thank you so much for sending it in. I love a good family experience because it shows that it wasn't just some weird, what have I done? What's this? It wasn't just some on your own experience. Like, people were there and experienced it with you. And it isn't like when you're younger, your family want to scare the shit out of you and be like, yeah, that was a fucking ghost, and lie about it. They want to be like, oh, that was a bit terrifying. Thank you so much for sending that in. It does make me wonder, right? Imagine, I know it's a bit of a weird situation, but I would rather, right, say we were in that situation, well, you were, but say I was in that situation and I was speaking to the ghost dad. I would rather he was like, by the way, I'm a ghost. I'm just here with my ghost children. We're doing our life before we were ghosts. And I'll be like, okay, fine, cool. I would want to ask questions. I was like, how do you get back here? Also, can you just think about where you want to go when you appear there? Can you go anywhere? Can I be a ghost when I die? Do you get the choice? There's so many things I would ask. Okay, I do believe, as is custom, we have Marcus reading for us today, which is good because I need to do a cut crease.
Oh, what is this now? What am I doing? Ghost stories? Oh. Hi, Robert. It's me. This story is called My Imaginary Friend. Hello, Robert. I heard you wanted more imaginary friend stories. So here is mine. This happened when I was around 7 or 8 years old. I don't remember much about my interaction with my imaginary friend. I would always think of it as me trying to have some form of company, as I am someone who doesn't believe in ghosts, even though I have many strange experiences with the paranormal. I was a lonely child, so I didn't have many friends. I would always try and live with my grandparents because at the time my mother was in an abusive relationship. My uncle back then lived with my grandparents in their garage. And for some reason, based on what my grandma said, I would always talk to my imaginary friend in my uncle's room whenever my uncle was away. I don't remember how I met this imaginary friend or how I communicated with him, but I do remember this piece of advice he gave me, and it was weird because I never saw his face. I would only hear him. His name was Mr. Snow. He sounded like he was an old man with a deep English accent. I remember telling him about how I wanted to run away or live with my grandparents, but he would say no. He would always tell me that my mother needs me and that eventually everything will get better and that you should never push away the people that love you. One day when I was hanging out in the garage, he told me that he had to go and said goodbye to me, which I thought was weird considering it was my imaginary friend. A few years later, I was staying in my uncle's room watching TV. I heard loud footsteps coming towards the garage, and all of a sudden, all the objects on the vanity were thrown across the floor. I froze, and then sprinted towards my grandparents, telling them what happened. They went into the garage with holy water and started praying. This is the part where I got chills. Grandma was telling Grandpa that it must have been Mr. Snow doing this. At that moment I was wondering how my grandparents knew my imaginary friend. It turns out he was the previous owner of the house and died due to a heart attack in the garage. This second story is called Me and My Sister Were Almost Kidnapped. Hi Robert, I love your channel and have recently discovered your ghost stories and makeup videos and have been obsessed. This is my story which I never told anyone till a couple of years ago. This is my story which I never told anyone until a couple of years ago. It's not a ghost story, but it is very creepy when I think back on it. It happened quite a few years ago, maybe 11, 12, and my sister was 2 years younger than me. We went with my mum to the store. I can't remember if it was Target or Walmart, but it was a big one. After following my mum for a while, me and my sister got bored, and I told my mum I was going to take her and just walk around. She said okay, but to stay together. We walked around for 5 minutes, didn't go too far away, maybe a few aisles, but all of a sudden, as we were walking back to my mum, a lady approached us and asked my sister if she could help her find something. I can't remember exactly what she was looking for, but I think it was a board game. This lady was maybe in her 50s and had a strong accent I'd never heard before. There was also a guy about the same age, who I think was her husband, standing a few feet behind her just staring at the ground. That by itself isn't really weird. They look like normal people, but I thought it was weird she put all of her attention on my little sister and didn't even look at me. After being asked, my sister, who was really shy, got nervous and looked at me not knowing what to do. The lady finally looked at me after I said something along the lines of, "No, sorry, we don't know where it is." The lady then grabbed my little sister's arm and started pulling her towards her and the guy, saying stuff like, "It's okay, it's fine," and shaking her head, kind of like trying to calm us down, but still pulling her. All the while my sister was trying to pull away and struggled against her grip. I had grabbed onto my sister's other arm, trying to pull her next to me. We were basically playing tug of war with my little sister, but the lady was still stronger and started to drag me along with my sister too. I didn't know what to do, but as we were struggling I kept looking from the lady to the guy behind her. He didn't even look up. It looked like he was just waiting for her to bring us over to him. After struggling for maybe 10 seconds, she had managed to walk backwards and pull us maybe 3 steps. But just as that happened, a person who worked at the store said, "Ma'am, can I help you?" And only then did she let go of my sister and walk away with the guy. Me and my sister ran as quick as we can to try and find my mum. She was only a couple of aisles over, and when we caught up to her, we didn't tell her what happened. At the time I kind of told myself it was nothing, but it always freaked me out that we could have been taken by this lady and her husband. Just a couple of years ago I told my aunt, who I'm very close to, and who is very protective of me, about our experience. I told her that I don't know if I really should have been scared or not, and she got serious and told me that we legitimately could have been kidnapped. I feel very blessed that the lady who worked at the store interfered, or I don't know what could have happened to me and my little sister. Okay, Robert, there we go. I have the statement you've told me to read out here, so I'm just going to read that quick. Hello, Robert does not have poo bags in his car anymore. That was a one-time thing, and it was for a legitimate reason why he had poo bags in his car. Okay, I hope that was okay, and see you all in the future.
Well, you heard the statement here first. Thank you, Marcus, and thank you for our stories. The second story, thank you so much. By the way, you don't have to send in ghost stories. People are scary too, so that's a perfect story. It is so fucking dangerous. When people are like, be nice to adults, it's like, you know what, no, fuck them. They're the worst people sometimes. Oh, apart from child ghosts. I feel like some adults and grown-ups can take advantage of that, especially the way she was like, "No, it's fine, I'm just grabbing you and pulling you." It's like, really taking advantage of children's trust in adults. Teach your kids not to trust anyone but you. This doesn't make sense right now, but it will. And listen, imaginary friends that turn out to be the guy who died in the house before. I'm very interested to see how a skeptic or somebody who doesn't necessarily believe in paranormal, how they explain that. Not saying like, how do you explain that? What do you think happened? I love to hear like both kind of sides. Like, oh, there was a gas leak and it was making me see hallucinations. I don't know. But to have an imaginary friend that kind of appears to you in a very potentially traumatizing part of your life, who also just happens to have the same name of a guy who like died there. Very coincidental. Okay, I'm just going to put on some concealer. I need to kind of catch up with myself here. And then we are catching up with the couple from the other week's TikToks in that haunted house. So I will feature them in today's video, but they actually have their own YouTube channel. So if you want to catch up after today, because I don't think I'll feature it again, then you can catch up on their YouTube channel, which I am going to do today, I think. I'll do that today. Okay, let's have a look at what has been happening.
You seeing this?
Get your camera.
Oh, it's on. Can you do it again?
Oh my god. Turn the light on, please. Turn it on. Oh. Are they going off separately?
Yeah, they are.
Okay, that'll do, thanks.
The light switch is over there.
Yeah.
This is actually absolutely bonkers, like...
That, I tell you what, that ghost needs to stop throwing shit around. I'll be so pissed. It broke something last time. I'd be so pissed if I bought something and it broke it. Let's see what's happening.
I'm proper freaking out a little bit here, right? Lainey's at work, I'm home alone, and Lainey's glasses on the counter there have just moved across the counter, and I'm... What?
No, fuck. I would be gone. I will be gone forever. I'd be like, you know what? We'll live in this shitty hotel until we can move out of that place.
Hi everyone, so in a moment I'm going to share a clip with you. It's going to have to be over 2 parts because it's longer than 1 minute long. But basically, we were making a video for our YouTube channel and caught some crazy noises and some weird things that went on. And all I want to say is to all you people who are constantly saying, ignore what's going on in your house, you're just fueling it. This is what happens when we ignore it. Enjoy. That was the chair. That was the chair downstairs.
That's actually some ruckus.
I'm trying to think what we're going down to now. Anyway, no, continue. We're not doing that.
Right.
Everyone's like, don't give it your attention.
This
so
is
we're going to continue.
damage control. Anyway, we could hear the tap turn in the bathroom. Then you can hear the water running. So we were like, what on earth? So as we're getting out of bed, we can hear like So this was the fallout from that chaos. Like the chair in the middle of the room clearly shouldn't be there.
I could hear the chair though. I could hear the like.
Yeah, and then, but what was the banging? Because that was massively loud.
I think I was doing the drawers, the doors, or the. I think I was doing.
Are we able to? What about the drawers, maybe? It was a bit louder than that, wasn't it? Yeah, that kind of replicates it, doesn't it?
Oh,
Might have been that as well, actually.
my ears.
Did you have to be so brutal with it?
Sorry.
But
this light's on as well.
This is a thing. Everyone's like, don't communicate, don't communicate. What if the ghost is a little bitch and it's like, I don't like being ignored? Now I'm gonna fuck you up even more. Not fuck you up. Fuck up your house even more. It's a what do you do situation. Okay, so this is the final part I'm going to show on here. And then, like I said, I'll link their channel below. I haven't actually seen it yet, so I can't wait to go check it out and see what's going on, how they're doing.
Do you reckon that's going to come up backwards?
I hope not.
Probably not.
I'm going to turn this down a bit.
Yeah.
That's better.
Oh, I should have seen that. Wait, is it recording? It is!
Yeah. What do you see?
The door opened on its own! Behind you!
You're lying to me.
I'm not!
You're lying to me?
I'm not!
This one?
Yeah, it's just pushed open.
You're lying to me.
I'm not!
Right, we're going to have to watch that back.
Do you want to watch it back now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's better.
Oh, I should have seen that.
Okay, so like I said, go ahead and check out her channel for the next few bits. I'm really, really like behind on this look. So I'm just going to finish up. And when you see me next, it will be done.